5M. Great job on Chapter 4. I'm really impressed on how well you guys are doing your long division. Division and our knowledge of it is going to help us with our next unit, which is Unit 5, and it is all about fractions. So here's just some warm-up problems to get you started. Go ahead and complete these on your whiteboard, and then press play to check them with me. Go ahead and press pause now and play when you're finished. Okay, you must be finished. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide here. Let me know if you guys have any questions on these, and just shoot that hand up. Okay. I want you now to make a list on your whiteboard. Write down as many ways as you can think of that we use fractions, or someone that you know uses fractions in their everyday life. And then press play when you're ready to discuss them. Okay, here are some ways that we do use fractions in everyday life, and you might have different ones, but here are just some examples. When you're talking about like how full you want a glass of something, so do you want a half full, 3/4 full, or if you want to think of my glass of milk as half empty. If we're thinking about cars, we might think about mileage, or we might also be thinking about a tank of gas, like I have half a tank of gas, 1/4 of a tank of gas, 1/3 of a tank of gas. Of course, when we're splitting something like a piece of fruit or a sandwich, here's a picture of someone baking using tablespoons, teaspoons, half tablespoons, half teaspoons, cups, that sort of thing. If we have something that we're splitting into lots of pieces like a pie or a pizza, we're looking at fractions of a whole. Also, when we're talking about distances, especially like when we're walking, if you go for a walk for 3.5 miles, or it's only a half a block to school, that sort of a thing. Some more examples are, there's a measuring cup. If you think about, we have in music, we have half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes. Those are all fractions of a beat. You can think about timing. Take half a minute, half an hour, half the day. You can think about when we're talking about gallons, you can have a half gallon or a 1/4 gallon of something, like a milk. When talking about measuring, of course, we have inches. We have 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. We also have halves of pounds, halves, and we can get into dozens. We can have half of a dozen, which would be 6 for eggs. Over here, when we talk about like if you have a handful of candy, well, is half of your candy jelly beans, or is 1/3 of your candy orange slices? Parts of a whole that way. We also use fractions a lot in time, half an hour, 1/4 of an hour, 3/4 of an hour. And then also in spinners, you can always look at fractions that way, which we'll look at a little bit closer right now. All right, so fractions are definitely an important part of our worlds. They are everywhere. Today's lesson is a fraction review, just kind of getting us back on target with fractions and the things we've learned. So it should be a pretty easy lesson of stuff that you've covered in the past years of school. So our learning target is I can find fractional parts. We're going to be looking at some story problems and also at some different grids. So first of all, what are fractions? Fractions represents a part of a whole. A fractional part that represents a number, a set, or an object. So for example, if 14 out of 19 students like to go outside, the fractional part is that top number. It's the numerator. Okay, that's the number that we're talking about. And the 19 is the whole number, the number in all. So 14 students out of 19 students like to go outside. And I'd say that's pretty close for our class. Lots of you like to stay inside at recess. Okay. I want you to know that a fraction is the same as representing division. For example, 3/4 is another way of saying 3 divided by 4. So we can write it like this, which we've seen a lot in our division chapter lately. It's just 3 divided into 4 parts. Now obviously 4 can't go into 3, so it's going to have to be less than 1. It's going to have to be a fraction. So we'd write it like this, 3 divided by 4. It's the exact same as having your 3 inside, your 4 on the outside. Fractions in which the denominator and the numerator are the same, like the one down here, 4/4, are equivalent to 1. Why is this true? Is because if we're talking about 19 out of 19, it's everybody. It's the whole group. It's the whole one. So if we have our apple pieces, we cut that one apple into 4 pieces and we eat all 4 pieces, well, we ate the whole apple. So anytime you have 4 over 4 or 5 over 5 or 100 over 100, you're talking about the whole thing was 1. Okay? Next up, fractions can also be represented as probability. So if we look right here at the spinner below, which just landed on green, what is the probability of it landing on green? We've talked about this a lot. Remember, when you're doing a probability, you want to think about the top number as the outcome you want. Okay, so only one of these pieces is actually green. So my number on top is going to be 1. Okay, and then my bottom number, when I'm talking about probability, which is my bottom part of my fraction, is the same as the bottom part of any fraction. It's the whole number in all. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in all. So I've got 1 out of 4 is my probability, or 1/4 of it being green. Used. Fractions can also represent ratios. So what is the ratio of boys to girls playing hopscotch in this picture? So ratio of boys to girls. Well, when we're thinking about this one, we're still going to have our part to our whole here. So we've got 2 boys and we have 3 kids in all. So 2/3 of these kids playing hopscotch are boys. Just to kind of practice your fraction knowledge. So you have a couple of pages in your math journal. And it's going to ask you some different things here. It says to work with a partner. I'd like you to do this on your own, please, and ask questions if you get stuck. It says use counters to help you. If you want counters, do raise your hand. We have those available. But if you just want to use the dots over here, you can as well. If you're stuck, raise your hand. We'll be happy to come help and clarify for you. Otherwise, once you get done with these next 2 pages, there's this page and it continues on to here. So it is page 121. Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll be around to check those for you before you continue the video. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, you're back. So you must be done with page 121. Make sure you've had this checked before you move on. If it's been checked and you're ready to go, we'll get started. Now we're going to look at these in some story problems here. It says, Julia came home from school to find 3 fresh homemade lemon squares. She had 3 of her girlfriends with her. So the 4 friends decided to share the 3 lemon squares equally. How much of a whole lemon square did each girl get to eat? So I want you to try to solve this on your whiteboard. Try drawing some pictures. Think about how you could split 3 lemon bars equally between 4 girls. Okay, so you must have this answered, so let's look together. First thing I did here is I went ahead and drew my 3 lemon bars. Pretty simple, right? I have 3 lemon bars, okay? But I have to divide that in between 4 girls, okay? So right there is my fraction, 3 divided by 4. You could also write it as a division problem like this, 3 divided by 4. Okay, 3 divided by 4 equals 3/4 right here. Okay, so each person is actually going to get 3/4. If you already drew that yourself and you figured that out, there's lots of ways you could figure that out. You could split each bar in half. Whoops, it's not very in half, but you can imagine that it's in half. There's another half. And one more half, and we could say girl number 1 gets this. Girl number 2 gets this half. Girl number 3 gets this half. Girl number 4 gets this half. We still have 2 halves left, but if we can't cut those in half, then everybody can have one more small piece. So we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So each girl would get a half plus a 1/4, which we know is 3/4 of a lemon square bar. Okay, so you can draw pictures to help you. I know some of you are very visual learners, and that's a great way to help you there. But if you are fine with just thinking these as division problems, just turning these into division problems, your correct answer on this one is going to be 3/4. So you don't really even have to draw a picture. You can just say that you're going to have 3 lemon bars. You're going to divide it into 4 pieces, okay, 4 equal size pieces between 4 people. Here's another one, and once again, you can draw the picture, or you can just solve this one using your fraction and your knowledge of division. Marta needs 6 bottles of juice to fill 4 big cups with equal amounts of juice. How much of a bottle did each cup hold? So I want you to go ahead and give this a try. Okay, so you must be finished here. I've got some cups to kind of help us out here. So it said that we have 4 big cups. 1, 2, 3, 4 big cups. Okay, and we've got 6 of these little bottles. Well, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and give 1 bottle to each. Put 1 bottle in there. Put 1 bottle in there. 1 bottle in that one. And 1 bottle in that one. Okay, that's only 4 of those little bottles though, and we need 6 little bottles. So there's going to be 2 more bottles over here. So I've got 1, 2. Now, how can I split these 2 bottles evenly amongst these 4? Well, I can put half, split one of them, half in this one, half in that one. And then I can take this one and split it in half and put half here and half here. So we're essentially going to be cutting these bottles in half. So I'm just going to be like, whoop, cut in half, and we're going to give this part here, and we're going to give this half to here. Okay, this half here, this half here. So each one of them is actually going to get 1 1/2 bottles of juice. Okay, so I would just write 1, a big 1 for the 1 whole, and then a half for my fraction. Okay. Now, some of you, if you didn't draw the picture, you might have got a little bit different answer, but I'm telling you it's the same answer. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let me clear a little bit of this off here. If we just look at the numbers in here, it says that she needs 6 divided into 4 big cups. So another way you could have written this is just to say 6 divided by 4. So when we do that, we're going to put our 6 down here, our 4 of the top, our outside, okay? And think about how many 4s are in 6. Well, 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, so it can only go in there 1 time. Okay, so I'm going to put my 1 up here. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract. I'm going to get 2 left over. Okay, now I could write remainder 2, but another way you can write remainders is as fractions. So what I can do is I can take my 2, and I can say that it's still divided by 4, because that's what I'd be doing next. Can 4 go into 2? And no, it can't. So instead, I can write 2 fourths as my remainder, is 1 2/4. So my actual answer, 6 divided by 4, is going to be 1 2/4. Which most of you know that if you eat 2/4 of something, like 2/4 of a pizza, it's the same as 1/2. So really, you could say 1 2/4 is your answer. You could say 1 1/2 as your answer. Okay, and actually at this point, I'd even take, just if you had 6/4 as your answer, and you didn't actually carry out that division, that would be okay for today. All right. Okay, so what I want you to do is make sure that today for each problem that you write the division problem as a fraction. Okay, so notice on here I wrote it as a division problem here, 6 divided by 4, but then I turned it into a fraction, 6/4, or I did the division so that I got my actual answer on that one. Solve your problem and show your work. So your assignment today is, this is your ticket to recess. You need to have the blue part done. Complete pages 121A and 121B in your math journal. Make sure you're working hard and understand what you're doing. If you get caught up on anything, please just raise your hand. That's what we're here for, is to help you learn, okay? When you get done, make sure you have your pages checked by me or Mrs. Conrad's, and then go ahead and work on math boxes 1.5 on page 123. Okay? All right, good luck, everybody. Thanks.